Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I got a really exciting interview for you today. I got a friend and somebody that's in the business in a little different aspect than we normally talk about. I got Fuquan Bilal with me this morning. How you doing this morning?
Doing great. I'm doing great. Fantastically well. Thanks for having me on the platform. I really appreciate it, man.
Oh, absolutely. I love having guys like you on the phone because you get me excited. I mean, we're thousands of miles apart, and you give me a bolt of electricity just talking to you. So I appreciate you. So why don't we just jump in and why don't we talk about what National Note Group is? You're the CEO. Why don't we talk about what it is today, what keeps you busy, and then we'll dive into your story a little bit later. So what is National Note Group?
Yeah, so National Note Group is a note company that I created in 2012, real estate mortgage notes. So I've been investing in real estate since 1999. And of course, like yourself, I've been market cycle tested, went through the downturn, the crash of the market. And I had the opportunity to discover this new, what I call the best investment strategy in the universe. And
Oh,
that's investing in real estate mortgage notes. And one of the reasons that it attracted me was it gave me the opportunity to help people stay in their homes and kind of restructure payment through a modification and reset them, adding value to them. And they become the property manager because they're still the homeowner. And I get to play the role of the bank. When I first started in real estate in 99, I started doing the fix and flips. Like mostly everybody got involved. You know, the large chunks of cash is very sexy. And I didn't really play the rental game. And I was forced to learn that when the market crashed and the banks were not financing, I couldn't liquidate any assets. I was forced to be a landlord. And I had to go, from flipping properties to dealing with tenants, toilets, trash, and termites. So when I discovered the note business, NNG was like, a fresh breath of air, and that was created in 2012. And we're still rolling today. We're still buying mortgage notes nationwide.
so let's just scratch that a little bit because you said so much there. So let's talk about the business today. So again, you are buying mortgage notes, which means they were initiated sometime in the past by someone else. You're not creating them from scratch. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So these are institutional loans
Mm-hmm.
that were originated by institutional banks.
Yep.
And what the banks did was, I know you heard the term shadow inventory,
Mm-hmm.
where the banks stopped foreclosing because they were getting a bad press, and they started to sell the paper
Yep.
to other investors. And this has been around for the longest. I mean, if people do owner financing, there's so many different real estate mortgage notes that people can buy. But this is institutional paper that has been underwritten by the institutional banks. More than often, the borrowers go into default, and then the banks, depending on the cycle of where this asset is in their portfolio, they liquidate it out on the streets. And mostly bigger firms make bid on these assets, take down these large pools, and then they chop them up and they sell them off to smaller funds.
Yeah, and the reason I bring that up is because what you're able to do, because you're buying something that was initiated elsewhere, whether it's private or institutional, is you can buy at a discount, right? You can use the
Absolutely.
stress in the system, you can use the part of the market, whatever you would like, you can get a discount on the note, just like traditional real estate investors are trying to get discounts on the property, right? You're getting a discount on the note, correct?
Absolutely. And that's another thing that I like about the business is whether you're investing in second mortgages or whether you're investing in first mortgages, you're going to target getting a discount. So first mortgages are purchased off of a percentage of the value of the property, the BPO, whereas second mortgages are purchased off of a percentage of the unpaid principal balance. And when I first got involved, I jumped right into the second mortgage space because it gave me a diversification play. I was able to have an option on a property, and for 100,000, I was able to have 10 options on 10 different properties. And the value of those properties were 350,000, 250,000. Whereas on the other side, in first mortgages, there's most of the people that are in the industry that I know, they deal with small balance loans, meaning they're buying loans that are $100,000 and less.
Mm-hmm.
And the value of those properties are only maybe $100,000 and less.
Mm-hmm.
So you have more money buying the first, and basically, if it's a lot of repair, when you go down to it becoming an REO, it gets problematic with profitability. So seconds give me an option on a property to be able to have an option on a property that's worth more. And more than likely, if the person is paying the first and they've been there for a long period of time, even if there's no equity in the property, if I'm in second position, that emotional equity is still there where a person that's been there, this is home to them, and they want to work something out. Because more than likely, if we go down a legal path, which our motto is, if we foreclose, we fail. But if we have to, most of the times the homeowners know that if they have to pack up and move, they're going to pay the same amount moving somewhere and rent than they will be paying for what we want to work out with the second mortgage payment.
That's, again, I love it when people of knowledge and of good character sort of get into a business, really with the motto of helping people, as you sort of shared already. And I'm sure we'll get into several examples of that here shortly. But that's just telling you that real estate investing has lots of ways you can go, right? You can get discounts on the paper, whether it's a first or second. So, why don't you take an example of maybe one that you've been through the full cycle, right? You purchased at a discount, you did a workout with the investor, and sort of share that life cycle, because I think this is going to be new to a lot of people, if you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely. So let's talk about a second. Unpaid balance is $50,000. The borrower took out the loan. Maybe they had a payment of $350 a month, and they fell behind for a couple of years. So now they owe $7,000 plus an interest and late fees, right?
Okay.
So total payoff is $57,000 plus or minus. I may buy that loan for 20 cents on the dollar. Maybe it may cost me $12,000 or $10,000 to buy this loan. If I had to go down the legal path, it may cost me $3,000 to $5,000 in legal fees. Now I'm into this asset for maybe $15,000 to $17,000. The debtor owes $57,000.
Mm-hmm.
I can establish communication with the debtor and say, give me $2,000 towards the $7,000 in arrears. I'll waive the rest, and I'll give you the same payment at $350 a month. It gives me an opportunity to recapitalize, and it's an example of one. Give me an opportunity to recapitalize some of the my money I spent for legal and costs, and I have a 20-year, 30-year term on a $350 a month payment. Now, once that's seasoned for a year, I can now go out and sell that asset close to 80 cents on the dollar. Whatever the yield is that someone is excited about when they're looking at buying something performing, which is typically 12 yield, 10 yield, 8 yield, just depends on the equity.
Mm-hmm.
And I can most of the time, make a nice profit on buying it, non-performing, working it out, seasoning it, and then it's selling to somebody in an IRA
mm-hmm.
who's looking for a 10 yield or higher.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's the exciting part about it. And then you have the other part where you can actually buy a performing asset for a 20-year term and just automatically have cash flow. Mm-hmm. You don't have to buy a non-performing. Non-performing is a lot of work. If you are investing from your IRA, then you definitely have to outsource it to asset managers or loan servicers, because you don't want to have any issues with that, working it out yourself. But I would basically say start off with buying something performing, whether it's first or seconds, just so you can understand the process, the flow, and you have immediate cash coming in as soon as you make the acquisition. Yeah. So you have the two sides, non-performing and performing. Non-performing is higher yields because the discount is greater. Performing is lower yields because you're going to pay more a little bit.
Yeah, so there's so much there I want to unpack for the audience. First and foremost, I think we should answer the elephant in the room is, okay, there's been, in your example, if I remember the numbers correctly, $50,000 second has been paid for 2 years. They owe 57 total. You buy it for 20 cents on the dollar, call it 11 grand, 11.4. Why would the institution sell it to you for 11.4 when you're telling us you're going to go establish contact and work something out? I understand why it is, but let's tell the audience.
Yeah, so they have a cycle that these loans go through. They attempt to do collections for a certain period of time. They may offer a discounted payoff. They may do a loss mitigation strategy. It may be a year, 2, 3 years where they don't get anywhere. And now, because of Basel, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Basel 1, 2, and 3. These are banking rules, and the banks are required to, if they have a certain amount of non-performing assets on their books, they have to hold mostly 10 times the amount of that in liquidity. So they're in a business to lend money, not to carry non-performing assets. So they liquidate these assets off their books, depending on the life cycle of where the loan is and how much liquidity they're mandated to keep. So they want to get rid of those assets. That is a tax write-off to them. They can book charge it and get some income from selling those assets as well. So that's pretty much why. When the TARP program was out, the Troubled Asset Relief Program, a lot of the banks held on to this paper a lot because they were incentivized to work something that and get some of that relief money to kind of help offset, whatever issues they were going through. But most of it, they had that's why the shadow inventory build up, and they was trying all the HARP, the HAMP mods, and all the other stuff.
I remember.
And, strategically holding on to, the paper and creating, a demand for the market. And this is where we are now. But yeah, that's basically the cycle and the reason that way. And I feel like smaller investors can do a better job at collections than the big banks.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you heard war stories and nightmares on loan mods, how they lost the application. They had to resubmit it 100 times and all the other stuff. So that's why it's good that if small investors like us get involved in the space, because we can add value and help homeowners and also make a nice profit.
Yeah, and again, you're not that faceless institution, that big greedy Wall Street, blah blah blah, that you sort of feel. And again, you get lost in the churn. So I totally agree. What you're providing is a service to homeowners and also to your private equity or your investors. So it's pretty awesome. Now that we sort of unpacked why, I want to unpack the value that you bring. And what I sort of took from your outline is you spend a lot of time evaluating, I'll call it notes or assets to purchase, right? So there's value in all of that. Then you spend time performing the workout period, right? Whatever that is, establishing contact, discounts, whatever that happens to be. And then you hold it for 12 months to get it to that seasoning period. So you're probably in this thing maybe 15, 18 months, maybe. And then you sell it and you recoup all the capital and your profit. Is that kind of a fair, rough outline?
Yeah, that's a rough outline. We hold on to a lot of our performers to offset SG&A and COGS, our expenses.
Okay.
The goal is to build enough cash flow to offset that, so you really can build a profit center with cash flow, right?
Right.
If most of the time we'll sell assets if we're winding down a fund and we're paying investors back. We'll liquidate those assets and pay investors back our principal after the term, whether it's 3 years or 5 years. But our model is to hold on for the performance as long as we can. You can create an arbitrage situation with some of them also. I don't want to go too much into the weeds, but there's a strategy you can use by doing a collateral assignment. It's like hypothecating the note. You can leverage it. You can hypothecate it. You can borrow against it.
Right.
Once you have season performing, you can do so many different things. And that is what attracted me about the business. When I got involved, I was like, wow, I can buy this thing, work it out, get a nice yield, and then I can do just like the banks. I can borrow against cash flow.
Yeah, you leverage against it. Yeah, that's awesome.
It's all so it's great.
Yeah,
but yeah,
so
that's that it will go.
Yeah. So the other thing you mentioned there that I want to just make sure we unpack is you mentioned fund a couple of times. So I'm guessing you go out and you raise private equity or private capital at some value amount. I don't know what that is, 100 grand, $1 million, 5 million, whatever it is. And then you sort of close that fund and then you go off because that fund will have an asset base. Then that asset base will go get, assets. Then it's closed. Then you have another fund. Is that kind of how it works?
Absolutely. And the reason that we decided to launch a fund back in 2013 was because we get a bigger discount when we buy.
Right.
It was just me by myself, and I spent, my first $100,000 investing because a lot of the real estate capital partners that I had really didn't want to get involved in a paper space because it was unknown to them, and they wanted to know that they had the collateral behind the investment. So with mortgage notes, the collateral is actually the mortgage and notes that are being assigned to you. But they just didn't understand that. So we went over the hill, got the arrows in our back first. And then once we were able to produce some case studies and show some cash flow and basically, create a scenario where it was easier for them to digest and understand it, we launched a fund and then we did our first round. And we was pretty excited about that. The first fund was all non-performing assets. So it took a while. It took about 2 to 3 years really to get over, work everything out. Scalability was the biggest challenge for us. Buying a pool of 20 loans is cool, and you buy a pool of 100 loans, but we did a large trade, which we purchased 1,000 loans, some Banco Popular paper. And it was a lot of different mixed assets in there. Not only was it non-performing mortgage notes, it was also, I had some performing in there as well, but it also had auto loans.
Mm.
It also had credit card debt. It also had charge-offs from banks from small unsecured loans. So it was secured and unsecured, and it was a all or nothing type of trade. And that really helped us understand the paper business and collection and everything else, how it goes. So some people don't know you can collect on unsecured debt as well.
Oh.
You know, people are buying credit card debt, obviously, and still trying to collect on it. And I can never wrap my mind around it. Who would buy this? Who would pay?
Yeah.
But there are people who go through hardships in life. They file bankruptcy. Maybe some of that debt is eliminated, or they don't file bankruptcy and they work out a payment plan. They feel obligated to pay because they know they borrowed the money. It's still some, righteous people out here who want to pay their debt. So you just never know. But mortgage notes is like a high-end collection business. Your security is the collateral that's attached to the house, which is the mortgage.
Yes.
And promise to pay, which is the note. There's two separate instruments that one get when they go apply for a home loan. And most investors don't know you can actually sue on the note and put a judgment against somebody, and the foreclosure is through the mortgage.
Right.
So you got two different ways. Yeah, you got two different ways to go down a legal path. Again, if we foreclose, we fail.
Right.
I don't want a bunch of REOs nationwide. The new vehicle that I have now is a diversified hybrid real estate investing model. What I mean by that is we invest in real estate and mortgage notes and real property. And the real property that we invest in is in New Jersey in 5 counties where I've been investing in the last 19 years, and it's local. Yeah. The notes are nationwide. And usually if we foreclose on something that's out of state, we'll find somebody who's the local boots on the ground and turn it back into a note.
There you go.
We create some financing, let them go do their thing where they have all the vendors and resources at, and we'll take the cash flow piece and become the bank again.
Yeah, that's a great focus. Just the last question about your business today. I want to make sure we cover. All right, when you're raising money for a fund, is this only for accredited investors, right? 200K and above, $1 million net worth, all of that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the first fund was non-accredited, it was friends and family, basically. But once you build the track record, I wish I would have started my first fund with accredited investors because it's just they have more understanding. They're more sophisticated.
Sure.
It's less of an education. They've been around the track before. They invested in other funds. They know what to look for. They know the questions to ask, and it's less of a educational process for them. It's basically historical returns. Mm-hmm. Let us see what you've done. Due diligence on the fund manager, and then it's off to the races from there. So yes, it's only accredited investors. The latest vehicle that we have is a $25 million raise. And basically that includes mortgage notes and real property. One other thing that I actually started doing, I've known about it for years, but I really never dabbled in it. But the last year I've been really heavily invested in it is locally in New Jersey is tax liens. So the market peaking up, and it was more competitive where, it's like 2008, 2009 again. It's like the market is, everybody's jumping in. Everybody wants to be a real estate investor because they saw HGTV. I started looking for ways to continue to get that discount on real property, and tax liens really has helped me accomplish that. Just went and got 14 properties for less than $1 million, and it's like almost $2.5 million worth of equity once they're all rehabbed and cash flowing, and that's because of the discount that you're able to get buying tax liens.
Well, that's not terrible. Good for you.
Yeah. It is a process, though. You have to wait in New Jersey a year. If you can fast track it if it's vacant, you have to wait a year to get the judgment, and then you actually have to do the deed, and then you have to do the renovation. So it's a longer process, but that's for like buy and hold stuff.
Yeah. Well, this is why your fund for accredited investors makes total sense, right? You give them the track record, and you communicate the whole period, right? And the reason they're called accredited is because they can hold that length of time, right? They don't need it to pay. They don't need that cash to pay the bills, so that they kind of get that. So it's awesome. So I would tell you, if you're an accredited investor and you're watching this and you have interest in more of a hands-off approach, you definitely need to reach out to Fuquan. We'll get his contact details here at the end. But I want to make sure we step back to the beginning, because everybody doesn't start wildly successful. So why don't you tell them about your origin story and sort of how you got into this as a one-man show that grew to this impressive company you are today? How did it all start?
Oh, absolutely. Everything came from adversity. When I was actually, I would say 22, 23 years old, my family has been involved in real estate. My brother was a loan officer, and he was trying to convince me to come to that side. And I was like, I don't want to wait 30 days to get a check. I need a check every week. I need a check every 2 weeks. I need security. I don't want to go in a la la land, Twilight Zone. Like, I'm telling you, it's commission, you make money. I was like, no, no, no. So my cousin, he's the same age as me. We've always been competitive. And basically he started in real estate, and he had made like $30,000, $40,000, and he was showing it off to me. I was young at the time. I was making good money, and he made basically almost half my salary in less than 2-3 months. And I was like, well, you know what I did? I put my 2-week notice in, and I started to show him around. And, lo and behold, I was able to cash in one of those $30,000, $40,000 checks. And I was pretty excited. I didn't make any money for like the next 6 months. I remember driving through the toll booth and digging in my ashtray for change to pay the toll on the Garden State Parkway. And I was like, wow, because you make money fast, you're young, you blow it.
Yeah.
You're always going to be there. And something really happened to me that really helped me grow to the next level. So we built a model where I started to get educated on how the mortgage process worked, because my brother was a loan officer. He taught me that process, and I would do seminars, how homeowners can get, home ownership here in New Jersey in the state. I wanted to go back in the area where I grew up from, North New Jersey, revitalize the neighborhood, which we actually did. We employed people in our neighborhood. We gave them jobs. The biggest mistake was dealing with some of those people who still was involved, like on the street level, and giving them opportunity, paying them cash. And something unfortunately happened to me in 2001, March 30th. I was actually shot 5 times in my office in the area where I grew up in.
Oh my God.
Because robbery setup. They thought we were paying cash, and they came in. We had already made payroll. I was the only one there, and I was the victim. I was shot 5 times, and from that experience, it taught me a couple of things. One, really to value life. The smallest thing, like tying your shoes that people take for granted every day and putting on your pants. It took me about 6 months to 7 months really to get back to the next level. But 2, it really taught me, okay, you still can add value to your community, but you don't have to really be in the mix there.
Yeah.
You still can have those people and give them employment and everything else and add value, but you don't have to be in the mix. And it also really taught me about my surroundings, the people who I'm around, the people who I surround myself with. And your network is your survival, right? Your network is your net worth. So I really started to get around different people, and that kind of shifted my mindset and had me really think about, what I really want out of life, why am I really doing this? And it kind of made me think more inside to myself. So that was like the greatest thing that ever happened to me. I know it sounds crazy, like you're shot 5 times, how could that be great? Because it really made me connect with myself and really find out the real value is within. It's not about, making a boatload of money, and people think success is having money. And it's really about having a passion, having a vision, and being able to accomplish that, and leaving whatever you can leave through legacy or whatever for the next generation.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I did not know that part of your story, so thank you for sharing that. I can't imagine going through that, and then to hear you say, and more importantly, believe you when you say it was one of the best things that happened to you. That just tells you more about your character than almost anything. That's. I'm sorry that happened to you, but that's. I love the story now that you're better and you're kicking ass. So,
yeah, I mean, that's the adversity, right? Yeah. So you say, how do I get that? I just wanted to, and that year, by the way, that happened in March. By the end of that year, I sold 36 houses. I mean, I had set up shop from home. I was working from home, and it kind of made me really, really want to get more aggressively involved in what I was doing. The next year, I sold like another 30, 40 houses. The next year, I sold like another 30, 40 houses. And then the market started to dip after that. But I was passionate about really what I wanted to do. I had my vision, I had my direction, and I stayed on it. So, that really is what really pushed me to get to the next level. And sharing with people as I learned, I would educate other people, bring them on, show them how to do it. And I still do a lot of that today, especially through social media. I'm so grateful now. We have Instagram, Facebook, and all these platforms, because one of my goals for 2019 was educate 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And when I put that goal down, I was like, okay, I wrote it down. Now, how am I going to accomplish it? And it's like, oh, social media, just come on and show people what you're doing, answer questions,
Yeah.
help people. So I have a thing where I have Talk Notes Tuesday on my Instagram channel at Fuquan Bilal. And then I have Walkthrough Wednesdays where on my Instagram channel and Facebook, I'll just show some before and after and try to give some information on, renovation time, renovation costs, just so people get educated. That trigger questions and people
Yeah.
engage and kind of help them through those platforms to, get to
Yeah.
whatever level they can achieve, whether they're doing wholesaling, whatever.
Yeah, this is awesome. So since we're going there, let's just keep going. So you've already talked about kind of your 2019 goal, helping 1,000 people, which I think is a low ball number. I think you need to up that, but hey, it's February 5th, so I'll cut you a little bit of slack. Because you're gonna blow. I bet you hit 1,000 by June. So, but we'll see. Where are you taking this in 3 to 5 years? Right. I get the feeling where you are now, where you're going. Where do you see where do you see National Note Group going and your investments in New Jersey in 3 to 5 years?
So we're focusing now on Opportunity Zone. That's something really huge for
Yeah.
Jersey. And it just so happens the 5 counties that we are investing in New Jersey are all opportunity zones. So we're looking at setting up that vehicle now. That was something that I actually put my SEC attorney on like over a year ago. I'm like, hey, did you know about this? This is coming here. So he went and took a continual educational course to kind of learn more information about it, to see how that vehicle gets set up. Because we really want to give investors who have capital gains to deploy, money to deploy to offset that. It's more of a long-term strategy. It's more like a 10-year play, 7 and 10-year play.
Yep.
So we're looking at, we're working on actually setting up a vehicle for that and seeing how that works, with the fund part of it. So that's the direction we're going. And those assets that would be, is real property.
Yep.
That will buy larger projects, trying to do some major renovations, maybe doing something in an area like, a facility for the kids to play and after school programs and stuff like that, where they can have that just more commercial related with that, because those are like broken down into one project at a time. It's not like a pool that people can invest money into and then basically benefit from the tax. It's one investment at a time, one asset at a time. So that's some of the things that we're working on now local to us. As far as notes, just staying on the course, trying to connect with, direct sources with the banks to really take that business to the next level. I'm still excited about it. There's a lot more competition. It's not where it used to be as far as pricing. So, you have to spend more to actually still continue to get the discount to be able to be profitable. So we're seeing a little bit of that in the industry, but just really staying focused on establishing those relationships to kind of keep it going and have that diversified hybrid real estate investing model. So that's what we're focusing on.
That's great. And I can see, sometimes people, I ask this question and I can't really make the leap from where they are now to where they're going. I can clearly see your path, right? And not only your path forward, but you can see how your track record has gotten to where you are and why that's going to be the momentum to getting you forward. So I applaud you for having a vision that is very connected, right? It's very serial. So that's awesome. I want to make sure I close by turning it over to you. You have so many ways people can get a hold of you and follow you. And, why don't you go ahead and just share all those ways? And if you're looking for anything, investors, accredited investors, whatever, I'm going to turn it over to you and go ahead and share away.
Awesome. So my email is fbilal@nngcapitalfund.com. You can reach me there. Also, you can go to nngcapitalfund.com. That's our website to kind of see the opportunities that we have available for accredited investors only. I'll also run a podcast, pfrei.co, is Passion for Real Estate Investment. I created that initially because I was seeing a lot on Facebook, people giving information out about joint ventures, giving legal advice, accounting advice. And I'm like, wait a minute, they're not accountants, they're not legal professionals. So originally that platform was created so attorneys, accountants, and other professionals can come on and kind of guide everybody in the right direction and hopefully generate some business for themselves. And I was like, okay, I can have that and have experienced real estate investors come on and share their story. So that's what it kind of morphed into today. And that's a platform where I'm able to give back and do some education to people who's passionate for real estate investing. If you're not passionate, don't go to the site. It's only for those who are passionate for investing. So that's pretty much it, or how they can contact me. You can catch me on Instagram at Fuquan Bilal. If you guys on Instagram, Facebook, Fuquan Bilal, Twitter at Fuquan Bilal. I'm on all the social media platforms. Trying to add value to the millennials and and everyone else.
That's awesome. Again, this has been so much fun for me. I love bringing another slice to real estate investing because it isn't always about tenants, toilets, termites, all of that. It can be truly passive via buying discounted notes and creating assets and, doing good work, right? Working out with homeowners that may be in a bad spot going forward. So I applaud you for all of that. And I thank you again for coming on the show. This has been a lot of fun for me.
No problem. I really appreciate you having me, Mike.
You got it, man. Take care.
All right.